Back at the ceiling today. Worked on getting the wires set up for the first light, and I've got a test battery that I put together with some alligator clips, and I'm clipping that to the wires that I have hanging down in the ceiling. After my little fiasco with the marker lights and having to tear things apart, I figure I can hook the alligator clips to these and test my fans, or I can hook them up to these and test my lights. And we've tested this light and the fans. They're all working, so I haven't messed up any of that wiring. And now I'm going to continue to put ceiling boards up until this section is done. Hopefully I can get that done today, so then either this afternoon or tomorrow I can get working on that section of the ceiling and have all of the ceiling done. At least that's the plan. Let's see how it goes. Got the test battery hooked up and testing my light after putting the next board on, and everything's good to go. Well, we're ready for the next board. This is the one that kind of worries me the most. I measured it out. It should be dead center of this next board. And so I should be able to put nails on each side, but it still worries me putting this one up ever since my little screw incident. I just don't want to mess things up and have to pull things apart again. So we're going to test it after every board, and this is the board I'm most worried about. Let's get it up. Well, things are going good. I got the wire track covered. It's all nailed in, and everything's still working properly. And I've got this channel that goes over here. I know I talked about it in a previous video. What I'm going to do is build a channel in the back of the wardrobe that will allow those wires plus the solar wires to come through. So I purposely offset this wire channel away from my stud that I'm using for nailing, just to keep that wire good and safe and well protected. We'll keep working on the ceiling until this section is done, and then we get going on the second section. And we did it. The main part of the ceiling, the boards are up side to side. I've got a little paint to touch up now, but I was expecting to have to do that anyway. I think before I continue on with the front part of the ceiling, I think I'm going to go get the fan trim piece, get it cut to size, and get it installed over the fan, and then I will get to work on the front. But today has gone well. It's going relatively smooth, and we're getting it done. Been a fairly productive day. I think I'm 2 boards away from getting to the fan opening, and then it'll be partial boards the rest of the way with the fan and the skylight. I've got the rest of the wire run for all of the rest of the interior lighting, and things are going well. So I think it's getting late enough. It's dinner time, and I don't want to get too tired and then screw something up. I think I'm going to call it a night, but I'm really happy with what we got done today, and really like the way it's looking. Working on the second part of the ceiling. I've got areas for the other main RV light goes in there. This will be the kitchen light. Got the area around the fan done. I still need to get the fan trim cut down and get that one installed. And I'm starting to work around the skylight so I can get the skylight trim up and the bathroom light up as well. But I'm thinking one more day I should have the ceiling done, all of the lights actually installed, all of the trim installed, and then I'm going to move on to other things. The ceiling is complete. Got all of our lights in place. All of the ceiling boards are up. The trim ring for the fan and the skylight are up. So this is going to be the bathroom light here. This light is going to be right over our kitchen table, or kitchen counter. And then we have 2 lights that are the main lights of the trailer. Now, one of the things I liked about these lights when I bought them is they're all dimmable. So you can just buy a simple knob on here. And then they also change intensity or color depending on what you need. And then if you shut them off, you just push and hold, and when you turn them back on, they remember where you left them. So we can shut ones off that we don't need and only use the ones we need, but it is so bright in here. This is, I think, a really good use of our lights. It's going to be great even when we get the bathroom wall up, so that one won't be shining through the whole place. We're only going to use it when we're using the bathroom anyway. Other than that, we can simply just shut it off. So they can be turned on and off at their location, even though they are adjustable. And if you do have them on a switch, when you turn them back on after shutting the switch off, they also remember where they were at as far as color and dimming. So really happy with the way the ceiling came out. Now I have a mess to clean up. Tools everywhere. So that's the next project before I get on to doing more cabinet work inside. Well, I got one mess cleaned up and another mess put in here. So I haven't been filming too much lately. I'm just trying to get some things done. And I know I need to turn the camera on more often. I'll see if I can get a little better on that. What we're working on now is wiring up power to the trailer. I have got the exterior 30 amp plug mounted. I have ran through conduit a 30 amp 10 gauge wire to a fuse panel, and I'm wiring it in so this top fuse will be our 30 amp main breaker, and then I'll have 15 amp circuits to run outlets. And what I'm planning on doing is I'm putting a box right there temporarily. What I want to do is right next to the box over here, I'm going to build this as a solid wall, and there'll be an outlet there. Inside here, which will be our battery compartment. In fact, I'm going to put the batteries back here in the corner. I hope to increase that to 3 batteries total. I'm going to lay out the battery hold down system here shortly, hopefully, but have an outlet that is out on the wall, but also one attached to it on the inside, so I can plug in a battery charger, so that when we're plugged into shore power, my batteries will get charged, but have one out here for access for other things that we may want to use. And then this area here is going to be the dinette, and I want to put an outlet on the end of the dinette. And then I'm going to run wire around this way behind the cooler and wardrobe area, and I want to put a GFCI in the bathroom for hair dryer, etc. But then also continue a wire around and have a outlet mounted on the top of the countertop in the kitchen. And of course one for the microwave. What I'm hoping to do before we head up to Belknap and then to MacGyver is I want to get that box that I have mounted, get it wired up for an outlet, and then run one around and have it mounted about where the microwave is going to be put, so that I can start working on that and have a box there for the microwave, which will be for the kitchen on our next trip. But hopefully I'll have those 2 outlets run and set up, and then I want to pull out all my equipment and test the system, put some electricity on it, make sure it's all working as planned and it's safe. I've got to set up chassis ground to the wiring. Right now the only ground is the one coming in from shore power, and I want to put one. I've got a chassis ground already in that is screwed to the frame itself, and I will be wiring that into the fuse panel. And then the other white wire there is a ground wire for the 7-pin that is also grounded to the frame, and that will be going onto my 12-volt system. But yeah, hopefully I can have the 120 system up and running and then start working on getting the 12-volt system up and running. I've bought my 12-volt fuse box, and I'm hoping that before we go on these most recent camping trips, that I can have the lights and the fans and maybe even the porch light all wired in to the 12-volt side of things and switched, so that we have working lights, working porch light, working fans, and working 110 outlets. So that is the goal, and we'll keep chipping away at it. I've got the 120 wired. I've got 2 circuit breakers hooked up. I've got an outlet here, and that will be the bed and under bed outlet circuit. And then I ran a wire over here, and this will be our kitchen, eventually microwave outlet. And everything's wired up, everything's grounded properly. We've got it plugged in. In fact, the heater is running off of the 120. So now I need to turn my attention to the 12-volt and start working on getting the 12-volt system laid out. Figure out where my bus bars are going to go, where my shunt for battery monitor is going to go, and start figuring out where the inverter is going to go. I think what I'm doing with the batteries is I've got the batteries. I want to eventually have 3 batteries. I've got this base plate figured out. I just need to get it set up, and that'll space my batteries just a little bit apart. And then I need to do some kind of tie down on the top to hold all the batteries in when we're moving. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my inverter down here, and then I'm going to get a scrap piece of plywood and cut it out to create a panel here that I can have my 12-volt fuse panel, my bus bars, my shunt, eventually my solar charge controller. All that can go on this panel here that'll screw down to the inner fender well, and some of it will sit over the top of the inverter. But I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, and we'll start kind of figuring that out and getting that lined out so that I can actually have my lights on a switch. Because right now, yes, my lights are working, but I've got my trolling motor battery in here with a couple of clips holding on to the wires going into the ceiling. And again, eventually I'm going to build a channel in the back of the wardrobe that will house these wires plus the solar panel wires as they come down through. They will go down underneath the bed and then be routed underneath the bed to my electrical system. But so right now that's kind of where we're at, and I'm going to start working on this 12-volt system. Working on the 12-volt today. I got the inverter pulled out right now just so that it's out of the way. I've been working on doing my electronics board, and this will all be protected. There'll be a wall on this side from the dining cabinet area. This will be closed, so the bed frame will be down, so it'll be all protected. These slots here are for me to bring up wire to the various locations, but I've got the basics done. So it'll come from the battery, it'll come to my cutoff switch, then from the cutoff switch I go through a 500 amp main fuse before it goes to my bus bar, and then I'm using some pretty heavy gauge 4 gauge wire to go from the bus bars to the fuse block. I had the 4 gauge wire, so I figured just use it, that way I'm not buying as much. And then over here on the negative side, I've got my shunt for my battery monitor, which isn't hooked up. This second cutoff is actually going to be for the solar system when I get the solar system in place, and that's what this empty spot is for. It's for a solar charge controller that also allows me to hook up the battery. Well, the 7-pin charging wire will also attach to it. So that it'll charge our batteries while we're driving down the road and through solar. And that's coming, it's just not here yet. And then of course today is I've got all this stuff loosely put on. None of this is tightened up. I need to tighten everything up, and I need to finish this connector here going from the fuse to the rest of the system. And then I'm hoping that here in a little bit I will be wiring up in the fuse block I want 4 circuits before we head up camping. It'll be for interior lights, exterior lights, fans, and the 12-volt plug for our fridge. I'm hoping to have those 4 circuits put in with fuses for protection before we head out for our next camping trip. So that's what we're working on. Working on electric again today. I did some marking with some painter's tape, and that is about where my my channel that I'm going to build into the back of my wardrobe for my wires. We'll have 2 more wires coming down there. There'll be, I believe, 8 gauge for my solar system. They will come down. I'm probably eventually going to look at putting some other board in here, creating a little tray for all these to sit on so they're not just sitting like it is. But I have wired up everything. I've got my fuse panel in. I've got my 4 circuits done. The outlet for the refrigerator, the interior lights, the interior fans, and the porch light. It's all wired in. Right now this is our temporary switch for our interior lights. Eventually it'll be at the end of the dinette area here. I want to put on this flat surface, I'll have the switch panel for that. This is our temporary switch for the porch light. Hopefully I left enough wire on there I can bring the switch out here without having to add any more wire to it, but that's the goal at least. So at the end of the dinette we'll have at least 2 switches, one for interior lights, one for porch light. Depends on what else we're putting in that'll need switches for 12 volt. I know I'll need a switch for the water heater for both the gas part of it and for the 120, but that'll be down the road. We'll work on that. I might actually mount those over by the bed outlet. And I'm going to build a cabinet door to cover the face of the fuse panel, but at least I've got that set up. And right now I've got the wires run to my trolling motor battery. I figured if I did have anything screwed up, it's a good testing battery. It's not my brand new battery, so that's why I did that. But I think I'm to the point now that I built a cover, or not a cover, a tray that'll eventually be on heavy duty drawer glides, and it's going to be what the cooler rests on. Then it'll be up over the top of that wheel well. So I think I'm going to do some cleanup, move the table out of the way, and look at starting to get that temporarily installed in there so that I can put the cooler mounted on there for this next trip that we leave in just a few days. But thankfully I'm feeling really good about where I'm at before we leave for this trip, as far as what I have done and what needs to be done before we leave. I'm feeling really good about that. And having the ceiling completely finished, the interior trim all done inside here. I've got, I think I said it on a previous clip, but I'll say it again. I got my L-shaped leg bolts into the wall, and Sonia has worked on the curtains and has put grommets on them so they all fit. So we'll have curtains. I've got the ball mounts for our little puck lights with they're rechargeable little puck lights that go on those by magnet. Though I just recharged those lights so they're ready to go for this next trip. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty darn good. We have lights, we have fans, we have 12 volt working system. I've got a 120 system in here for 2 temporary outlets. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about where we're at for this next trip. This is the most I feel ready for a camping trip since we started working on this thing. But Still got a lot of work to do, cabinets, bathroom to install, all that kind of stuff, but I removed the shower base out of the corner for now. It's not attached. It was there just for spacing so we could figure out where we wanted the toilet base to be mounted. We figured out where the wall is going to be for the pantry slash wardrobe area. And then we're trying to plan some linen cabinets in the bathroom. And we've got all of our curtains with grommets and they're ready to go. Everything's wired, got 12 volt and 120 volt here in the trailer. The bed is ready to go. I already got it set up. Built the cooler stand. That's eventually going to be put on heavy duty drawer guides, locking drawer guides, and be in a cabinet there, but that's well on its way to being worked on. In fact, that's probably the first thing I'm going to work on when we get back is getting the cabinet made with the slide out for the cooler, and then that way I know exactly where the wall can go for the bathroom, and I can start getting the bathroom wall up and installed using the shower pan as kind of a guide as well for that wall. But yeah, it's looking good. We've got things put together as far as we can for this trip, and even have a working porch light. So pretty stoked about this trip. It's going to give us a good chance to try a lot of this out, see how well it works, etc. But yeah, I've got high hopes. I mean, we've had our little fiasco with the leaking rear window, but we got that fixed. We've got the seals around all the doors taken care of, so all new seals. I got some silicone lube for this front door seal because it was pretty sticky. You close the door, leave it closed for a couple hours, and come back, it felt pretty darn sticky. So I got some silicone lube and wiped it onto the gasket, and it seems to be working much better. But I think we are ready to load this thing up and head out.